Okay, good evening. Hope everyone is doing well. Tonight we're learning Maseches Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud. This Gemara is entirely Agadata, and it is all about Shadim and Kishuf and about sorcery. Who knew? If you open the beginning of Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, you'll see there that the impact of the Adam, of a human being, is that it can have an impact on Olame Olamos. It can have a tremendous impact on things that we don't even fathom. And there is a whole other world that we don't see, touch, or feel on a regular basis. Though we've heard stories in our community about Shadim, of the like things over the last many years. So tonight's Gemara is going to be almost exclusively about that. And the launch pad for that is our mitzvah d'Rabbanan of Arba Kosos, of 4 cups of wine on the night of Pesach, because, and we'll be starting on Kuf Tesam and Beis at the 2 dots, our Mishnah had said in between the 2 dots, V'lo yivchasu lo me arba'a, that one is obligated to have 4 cups of wine. You're not allowed to have less, even if you have to take from the tamchui, even if you end up having to take from the community. The halacha is that you have to have arba kosos. So says the Gemara, hold on one second, how are you allowed to establish a minhag of arba kosos? Asks the Gemara halfway down on Kuf Tesam and Beis, Heichi metakne rabbanan midi de'asi bali de sakana. How are you allowed to do that? After all, we have a principle called zugos. Zugos is what we're going to be focused on for most of the night tonight. And zugos is an idea that when you eat certain foods or do certain activities in even numbers, in pairs, ending with an even number, so that can generate a damage from shadim, from demons. That's the premise of the Gemara. Now, remember that this opening question is a halachic question, which is that how can the din d'Rabbanan of Arba Kosos be rooted in an even number if it will bring about this demonic response? That's the concern of the Gemara. V'hatanya, after all, the Brisa teaches us, and this is one of the primary Mari Makomos, to know that the zugos, to know that that demons have impact when there are pairs of people. V'hatanya, lo yochal adam trey, you shouldn't eat things that are in even numbers. V'lo yishta trey, you shouldn't drink things that are in even numbers. 2 cups, 2 foods, whatever they are. V'lo yikaneach trey, after one uses the washroom, they should not clean themselves twice in even numbers. V'lo yaset tzrachav trey, tash meshamita should not be had twice in a row. Amar Rav Nachman. So it says that's the Gemara's question. That's the Gemara's question, which is our Mishnah says 4 cups, as we know, but 4 should be dangerous because this brisa indicates that things that are in pairs are dangerous, and 4 is a multiple of 2. It's an even number, so that it should trigger this demonic response of zugos. So answers the Gemara with a few different answers. 5 lines from the bottom. Kuf Tesam and Beis. Answer number 1. Amar Rav Nachman Amar Kra. Don't worry. Because even though it's true, says the Gemara, that zugos applies, but here it's leil shimurim, that we know famously. We don't even say kriyas shema that night, the psukim that we normally say to prevent us from the exposure of those who are mazikin. That's the Gemara in Brachos that we saw many blot ago. So there we can skip all the psukim of shmira, hashkivenu, all the other psukim, whatever they are. We skip them on that night. So here too, leil shimurim. The mazikin can't impact us on the night of Purim, therefore the number of 4 is not problematic. Leil hameshuma ruva min mazikin, that night is protected from mazikin. That's answer number 1. Rava Amar, no, hold on one second. One of these 4 cups is not like the other. Kos shel bracha, the third cup of wine which we drink after Birkas Hamazon is a kos shel bracha, which is an idea that we've spoken about over the previous blot in here in this parak in Arvei Pesachim. And because we have this idea of kos shel bracha, so that cup is not like all the other cups. Kos shel bracha is mitzaref latova. We only add it into the count when it's for a good thing. Aval, however, says it doesn't say aval. Ve'enu mitzaref l'ra, but we don't add it into when the result is going to be negative. Namely, we only count it. It's really 1, 2, 4. We really skip number 3 because if we were to add in cup number 3, it would leave us with the number 4, which is not correct. So when it's a kos shel bracha, it's not part of the mix. Therefore, the 4 cups really halachically, I should say demonically, are really 3 cups. It's really not 4 cups, and therefore there's no danger. Ravina Amar, 2 lines from the bottom. Arba kase takinhu rabbanan derech cherus. The rabbis had 4 separate mitzvos derabanan. It's not 1 mitzvah of 4 cups. It's 4 mitzvos of 1 cup. Kol chad v'chad mitzvah be'ape nafsha. As we turn to the top of Kuf Yudam and Aleph, each cup is a mitzvah in and of itself, and we don't look at them as an accumulation of cups. Each one is in a vacuum, and each one has its. And this also is a bit of a raya for the idea of hotzesi salti galti belakachti, that each cup is inherent in its own right. So says the Gemara, lo yasetz rachav trei, that a couple should not have tashmish amita twice in a row. Why not? Amai. Maybe nimlach, or maybe nimlach. Maybe they just changed their mind. So the Gemara, the Before Shamir point out that it must be the assumption that after a couple has tashmish amita one time, that he no longer has a taiva for tashmish amita. So therefore, it has to be that it's nimlach. It's woven into the fabric of the Gemara. It must be amai nimlachu. Obviously, he changed his mind. Amar Abai, no, you misunderstood the brisa. You read it as you should not eat food in pairs, you should not drink food in pairs, you should not clean yourself twice after the washroom in pairs, and you should not have tashmish amita. That's incorrect. The correct reading of the brisa is as follows. Second line, Amar Abai, hachi ka'amar, lo yochal trei v'yishta trei v'lo yasetz rachav afilu pamachas. You should not eat food in pairs or drink a drink in pairs, after which one would then have tashmish amita even once. Dilma chalishu misra, because we know that zera is a mateshes kocho shel adam, the tashmish amita can exhaust a person, and when coupled with the fact that you've already done something in the demonic number of 2, the zugos, so that's triggering and therefore problematic. 4 lines down, the Brisa writes, Tanu Rabbanan shose a kiflaim. If someone drinks a drink in doubles, you have two l'chaim, you have 2 shots, damo barosho, then his blood is on his own head. You got to be careful. We'll see by the end of the night that not everyone was concerned about zugos. There are a lot of exceptions to the rule, some of which we're going to see now. But I'm just going to foreshadow the conclusion. We're not, by and large, we're not choshesh for this, though the Gemara does have one language that we'll see shortly of maybe lemechash mebay, that we should try and be a little careful about it. So let's see, we'll get into some of the exclusions. So here we go. That was what the Brisa said. And then the Gemara has a couple of exclusions in the name of the Amoraim, Amar of Yehuda. Mosai. When is it true that dama barosha, the drinking in pairs, is it problematic? Bizman shelo ra pnei hashuk. That's when you don't look out of your window and see the marketplace. Why should that be a distinction? Okay, we don't have time for all of the nuance here, and I wouldn't understand it if I read it. But there's many, many layers of what's going on here. If you see the shuk, if you see the outside world, so then that's considered a separation between cup number 1 and cup number 2. If in fact you did see the shuk, then no problem. You can drink an even number of cups. Amar Ravashi Chazino the Rav Chananya Bar Bibi. I saw with my own 2 eyes of Rav Chananya Bar Bibi, Da'akol Kasa Havanafik V'chazi Ape Shuka. He would go out and look at the marketplace in between each cup, because as the Gemara just indicated in the name of Rav Yehuda, clarifying the brisa, that what we're discussing is that when you see the shuk, it's considered a separator between one cup and the next. And as well, says the Gemara, below Amran ela latzeis laderech. The only time we're concerned about zugos is when you drink 2 things and then you leave the house, and then that's going to be the problem. Aval bebesolo, if you stay in your house, drinking in pairs is not problematic. The zugos is only a concern when you do something in pairs and then you walk out of the house to go join the world, to go out into the public. Amar of Zera, the lishan, when a person's sleeping, that's kilat seis laderech dami. If a person drinks in pairs and goes to sleep, even though they're in their house, it's similar to leaving the house, meaning you're bringing danger upon yourself. You'd have to be awake for there to be no danger. Amar of Papa, vilat seis lebeis hakise, going to the bathroom, that's also kilat seis laderech dami. That's also very dangerous. It's like leaving your house as well, which would be problematic. So the exclusion for zugos is when you're in your house, you don't go anywhere, and you don't go to the men's room, and you don't leave your house. So then you're good. You don't go to sleep. Then we can say that the zugos are not dangerous. Says the Gemara, are you sure that's true? Ube beso lo, you're going to say that in your home that there's no concern of the demonic zugos, of things that are eaten, drinking, cleaning your body, tashmish amita in pairs. V'harava manik shure. When Rava was drinking, he would count the rafters to make sure that he wasn't drinking in pairs. That's the shure are the beams of the house. V'abaye kishasi chada kasa mankit le'ime trei kase b'trei yadeha. When he would drink 1 cup, his mother, we know from Abai, it wasn't his mother, it was his caretaker, Av Hashem, and maybe his real name was Nachmeni, a whole discussion that we've learned before. So when he was drinking 1 cup, his caretaker would hold 2 separate cups of 1 in each hand to total 3. The 1 he's drinking plus the 2 is 3, which is not an even number, so it didn't trigger the issue of zugos. But Rav Nachman Bar Yizlak Yavashasi Trei Kase, when he was drinking 2, Mankid Le Shame Chad Kasa, and his servant would hold 1. The 2 he's drinking, and the 1 from the servant is 3. Again, avoiding the issue of of even numbers. Chad kasa mankile, chad kasa, if he was only drinking one cup, first of the long lines on Kuv Yud Amud Aleph to 1/3 of the way down. Chad kasa, if he was only drinking one, then mankile trei kase b'trei down. Yade, and then he would drink, he would hold on to 2 cups in order to compensate for the one that he had. And all of this was done in the house. And that was the Gemara's question. How can you say that in a person's house that there's no concern of zugos? After all, we saw with all of these Amoraim that if they were drinking one drink, they'd offset it by carrying another 2. Or if they were drinking 2 drinks, they'd offset the volume by carrying another 1 drink, so that the total number of drinks always ended in an uneven number, in an odd number. Says the Gemara, it's different with an Adam Chashuv. When you're talking about an Adam Chashuv shiny, there, the person who's an Adam Chashuv has to be careful in their house. Let's summarize before we move on. We have a concern of zugos, a demonic concern that when we do certain things in pairs, it's problematic. The Gemara limits the Brisa to say that that's only true when you stay, that's only true when you leave your house, when you go to sleep, even in your house, and when you go to the washroom in your house as well. Even in your house, when you've done none of those other things that are problematic, if you're an Adam Chashuv, then even in your house, you have to be careful. Amar Ula, let's get into some more of the caveats here. Amar Ula, Asara Kosos, Ein Ben Mishum Zugos. There's a maximum. It's not every even number under the sun. We go up to 10. 10 is not problematic. Ein Ben Mishum Zugos and Ula Lataime. This follows Ula's reasoning. What does he say? The Amar Ula ve'amri le'b'masnisa. Some say Ula said it, and some say that it's actually a brisa b'masnisa tana. Asara Kosos tiknu chachamim b'veis ha'avel. We have a brisa, potentially a brisa. We're not sure if it's that or Ula, that says that in the house of an avel that one should drink 10 cups. But 10 cups is an even number. So it says the Gemara, if what you're saying is that the even number of 10 triggers the demonic concern of zugos, that's a big problem. It's a rhetorical question. Obviously, it must therefore be that when the Chachamim said that in a Beis Aval you have to drink 10 cups, it must therefore be that 10 isn't a problem for the zugos, for Shaden. Aval, says the Gemara, almost halfway down, 6-7 lines down into the wide lines, but 8, 6, 4, and 2, those are all problematic numbers. Says the Gemara, 8 is a problem, but Rav Chizda v'Rabba bar Rav Huna damrei tarbai, they disagree. Shalom Litova mitzdarif, lira'a lo mitzdarif. What does shalom mean? So the Mefarshim explained that if you look at the bracha of the Birkas Kohanim, it's Yavrecha Hashem Bishmerecha, Yoer Hashem Panav Elecha Bichuneka, and here's the last pasuk: Yisa Hashem Panav Elecha V'Yaseim Lecha Shalom. Shalom is a reference to the 7th cup, 7th word in the pasuk. So therefore, says the Gemara, that the 7th cup can only be Latova. And therefore, what Rabbah and Rav Huna are saying is that they're disagreeing with the previous assumption of the Gemara, that Tmanya, that 8 is problematic for the world of Zugos. 8 is never problematic for the world of Zugos, because cup number 7, the cup of Shalom, can only be Latova and can never be L'Ra'ah. So that's what the Gemara means here when it says the Amr Tavar Shalom, the 7th cup, Latova mitzdaref, L'Ra'ah lo mitzdaref, and therefore 8 is not a problem. So then says the Gemara, the obvious next assumption, Aval Shisa, but when it comes to 6, the even number of 6, Yesh Ban Mishum Zugos, it seems to be there that we are concerned of Zugos, but there too, Rabba v'Rav Yosef, Damar Tavar v'Chuneka, Yisa Hashem, what is it? Rechacha Hashem v'Yishmerecha, Yoer Hashem Panav Eilecha v'Chuneka. Cup number 5 is referenced by the word v'Chuneka. So therefore, what they're saying is that we never get to cup number 6, because cup number 5 could never be counted l'ra. It can only be counted l'tova. So l'tova mitzaref, l'ra lo mitzaref, and therefore these Amoraim are also of the opinion that even by 6 there were no zugos. So if somebody had 6 shots, 6 cups, 6 whatevers, it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. That doesn't trigger the zugos issue, because the number 5, at least by kosos, I should say, maybe it's not by everything, by kosos, there's no concern. So says the Gemara, the next case, Aval, halfway down, Arba Yeshban Mishum Zugos. Maybe we should say that the 4 cups, 4 of anything should be problematic and should trigger the demonic Zugos. Abai v'Rava Damar Tarvai v'Yishmerecha. Yivarechecha Hashem v'Yishmerecha. V'Yishmerecha is a reference to cup number 3. And cup number 3, by definition, says the Gemara, L'tova mitzdaref, l'ra lo mitzdaref. And it must therefore be that 10 is not a problem, 8 is not a problem, 6 is not a problem, and 4 is not a problem. It seems to be the case. And it seems to be that the only number that we're really concerned about is 2. So we've removed a whole bunch of limitations from the category, from the possibilities of zugos. Halfway down, Rava who says that the third cup is only the tova. To Rava, it wasn't uncommon. Rava, when he would say goodbye to people or he was greeting people, he was talking with them, he'd often give them 4 cups of wine, 4 cups to drink. Some of the Mefarshim explained that it was good for their learning to have a deeper level of understanding. Nichnas yayin, yatsa sod. Yayin and sod are the same gematria of 70. Shivim panim l'Torah. And if you want to get all 70 panim l'Torah, sometimes yayin has to be nichnas. Of course, this is a sophisticated idea. It's not a flippant, casual idea that we don't drink for recreation. We drink for depth and we drink for understanding. That's why it's always at transformational times on the calendar. The famous Maharal. Every time that halacha requires that we drink, it's always at an opportunity for growth and transformation, and not for recreation. So it says the Gemara that we know that Rava can't say that 4 is problematic, and it must be that the cup number 3, which is referred to as v'yishmerecha, Yivarechecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, the cup number 3 is only l'tova, not l'ra. He must therefore say that 4 is never a problem. But the Gemara says, hey, wait 1 second, afal gav, but it didn't always work out well. Afal gav, the itzak Rava bar levoy. I don't understand. Once Rava the Amora, said to Rava bar levoy, he gave him 4 cups of wine. But that was different, says the Gemara. Lo chashle lemilsa. That doesn't ruin Rava's rule. Rava still holds that 4 cups is not problematic. Why was Rava bar levoy different? Because the Amar hahu mishum de osvan bepirka hava. Rava bar levoy used to talk up during the shiur klali that Rava would give 2 Ravas, Rava the famous Amor and Rava bar levoy. So Rava bar levoy was sitting in the crowd and he was cheppering Rava when he was giving his shiur klali. So it says the Gemara to osvan from the word tiyuvta, right? To osvan, he kept asking a whole bunch of questions, but it wasn't done in the right way. I remember when I was in yeshiva that the Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Avidan Zechron Levrach, passed away just a number of weeks ago, unfortunately. And when I was there, Rav Gantz would sit there and ask these questions, the high level, they would yell at each other. It was gorgeous, and Melchamta Shel Torah, but apparently this was worse than that. So Rabbi Bar Levoy, he did get hurt, but that was because of other reasons. It wasn't because of the zugos. It wasn't because of the demonic influence of the zugos of the shadim, but rather in this case, it was because the Osman Bepirka Hava that he was talking back to Rabbi. Amar Rav Yosef had a conversation with a shade. Amar Li Yosef Sheda. Rav Yosef, the Amora, was talking to Yosef Sheda, a shade whose name was Yosef. Ashmedoi Malka, the king of Ashmedoi, is Malka de Shede. He's the king of all of the Shedim. Memune hu akul hu zuge. And he is appointed over all of the zugos. Okay, so there's 2 ways to understand this line. The first understanding is umalka lo ikri mazik. Kings by their nature don't hurt people, so you don't have to worry so much about zugos. That was Rav Yosef's first understanding. Ika de amrei lo lahai gisa, but some say that it's the other way. Adarabba, we need to look at the comment of Yosef Shida as a little bit different. Adarabba Malka raschanahu. He's a rosech. He gets boiled up. He gets bekas. My debai ovid, and he can do whatever he wants. Shamelech poretz geder lasos lo derech. If a king wants to knock down a wall, if a king wants to do whatever he wants, the ein mochen biyado. No one can argue. There's nothing you can say against the king. So there's 2 different pshatim of how to understand what Yosef Sheda said to Rav Yosef. Do we say that Yosef Sheda says that Ashmedai is the king? Kings don't hurt people, therefore the zugos are not dangerous. Or no, the opposite, that he's a melech, and a melech can do whatever he wants. So 2 versions within Rav Yosef. 3/4 of the way down, 12 lines from the bottom of the page. Rav Papa. Amar li Yosef Sheda. Rav Papa also spoke to Yosef Sheda. Betray katzlinan. When it comes down to 2 cups, 2 whatevers, that's when there's where there's danger to be killed. Ba'arba lo katzlinan, but you can't be killed for 4, like we saw by Rava above. However, be'arba mazkinan, with 4, you can still get injured. You just can't get killed. Okay, so we still have to be careful with 4s. Betray, when we talk about 2, bein b'shogeg, bein b'mezid, doesn't make a difference what your intentions are. When you do anything in the pairs, that's when the zugos are triggered, and therefore you are going to be at risk for being killed. Be'arba, when it comes to 4, granted, all that can happen is mazkina, you can get injured but not killed. However, b'mezidin b'shogeg lo, we're more lenient that if one were to do this action of drinking 4 somethings or eating 4 somethings, if they did that b'mezid, so then they could get injured. But if it was b'shogeg, then they could not. What if a person forgot the ikre and it happened the nafak and then he left the house? Remember, we said that the zugos, the demonic influence, is only true when you leave the house. Fine. So then he left Maita Kante. What should he do? So says the Gemara, This may be something that you've heard before. I've heard of this before. It's a very strange thing. The Gemara Takante, what should you do? So it says the Gemara, Linkod zikva the yade de yamina. Take the thumb on your right hand and put it biyada de smola. Put your right thumb in your left hand. Vizakva de smole. Take your left thumb biyada de yamina and put it in your right hand. So it looks kind of like this. You've got your thumbs that are all trapped within your hands. It's kind of difficult to do, but that's what it says here. You're going to put your thumbs in your palms, and you're going to close your hands around them. That's what the Gemara says you should do. And then you should talk. Then you should talk to the Shadim, because now we know we've triggered the Zugos, the demons, the Shadim are close. Here's what you should say. Atun ve'ana, me and you, hatzlasa, we're three. Again, this is above our pay grade. We don't know exactly what this means. You could try to read it in the art scroll. The English doesn't do it justice. I'm sure we're all missing something. And if you hear back a response to Amar where the Shadim say Atun v'ana ha'arba, he says, no, it's an even number. It's really 4. You should say back, Ne'malei Atun v'ana ha'chamisha. Keep pushing back. We're always going to end in an odd number with your hands, with your thumbs inside your palms. If the Shadim keep pushing back and say it's not 5, it's 6, Ne'malei, you should say back to him, Atun v'ana, you and I, ha-shiva, always end on an odd number. So then the Gemara tells a brief story. Hava uvda ad mea b'chad upaka sheda. There was a story where the shade and the person kept going back and forth. The person kept ending in an odd number, 7. He said, no, it's 8. And they said, no, it's 9. No, it's 10. This is not that formula. This is something else is going on here. This is again, like I don't know how to answer your question. I don't know. But the Gemara says it can go all the way up to 100. There's a lot of kashas on this. If that's the line of thinking, everything above 10 we know is for sure not included here. So I don't know.
And after 101, there's 102.
No, that the Meforshim point out. I think it's the Rashbam here. The Rashbam here says Admeya v'chad shahaya shade. If you look at the Rashbam, 7 lines from the bottom. The Rashbam writes, Admei v'chad, shahaya shade mone zugos v'hu haya mosif achas shelo lamod v'zugos. Oh, no, sorry, that's not here. But I did see somewhere that there's something else going on with the number 101. I can't remember what it was, but there was something else going on there. Maybe Rashi says. Can't remember. I have to look at it later. So anyways, that's what the Gemara says. And with this particular case, after 101, upaka sheda, the shade, I don't know what the right word is, exploded, imploded, dissolved, went away. Again, I don't know. It's tough language here. Amar Amemar. Amemar says, Amar Ali, Rishtinhi, the Nashim Kashvanios. Nashim Kashvanios are female sorceresses. That's what the 2 words together mean. Nashim Kashvanios are sorceresses. And Rishtinhi is the one who's in charge of them. So Rishtinhi was the responsible party for the sorcerers. And Amr Ali. So she said to Amemar, she said, Hai man de pagabahu b'nashim Kashvanios, a person who bumps into sorceresses, Nema, they should say Hachi, they should say the following. Chari chamime, hot fecal matter, bidikula bazia, in a broken basket, lipumaichu, into your face. Nashe de Charshia, you women of sorcery. Again, I don't know. Karach korchaichi, you should become bald. Parach parchaichi, the crumbs that you use to do your sorcery should all be gotten rid of. Ibdur tavlunaichi, we should get rid of all of your spices. Parcha zika, there should be a strong wind. Lemorika chadata denakisu, to remove all of the spices, specifically saffron is referenced here in the English. All of the fresh saffron that you selected, nashim kashvanios, you sorceresses. Adechanani v'chananchi, you've been gracious and I've been gracious, lo asisi lego, and I never got trapped up by you. But hashta de asisi lego, but once a person does get trapped up, God forbid, by a sorceress, then karchanani, and the Meforshim point out that your graciousness has become cold. Kar chanani v'chananchi, and I got trapped up by you. I fell out of your graces is probably the appropriate English phrase to say here. Okay. B'ma'arava, in Eretz Yisrael, this was all in Babel. B'ma'arava, in Eretz Yisrael, lo kapte azuge. Guys, we're not worried about this kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about the zugos. You can do things in pairs. Rav Dimi min harda kapira filu arushma de chavisa. He says, no, I disagree with you. You do need to be concerned. And what they used to do is etch these markings into barrels to say what barrel number it was. And he would not do it in pairs. He would make sure that it was always an odd number. So he counted 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. He would never do 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hava Uvda, there was a story that took place, Upaka Chavisa. There was a story where there were even markings on the barrel and the barrel exploded. It just makes you think, like, I don't know, when you drop something on the ground, is that because you drank out of it twice? Again, that's okay. Klala de Milsa. The general rule is as follows: Kol de kapid kapti behadeh. It doesn't mean anyone who's makbid at all. Anyone who's overly makbid, so then the zugos, then the demons are going to be even more makbid with you. Ude lo kapid, and those who are not overly makbid, lo kapti behadeh. And then you don't have to worry so much about it. Umihu, and this is very difficult here. The Meforshim point out that this may not have been part of the Girsa. Umihu lemechash meboy. But you still should be a little bit concerned. So what does that mean? Tachlis, like what does it mean to be balanced in this area? So we today, when this is manifest today, we're like, does this person have a compulsion? You have to turn the knob 3 times, not 2 times. We look at that in a different way, but there really are Mari Makomos here. This is the real deal. And I am not, I don't know what it means. I'm not a posek. You got to ask a posek. Are we supposed to be concerned about this? In Ma'arava, they were not concerned about it, but in Bavel, they were. And the Gemara says, "L'mechash miboy." So the Gemara, some of the Meforshim point out in Agos Tzionim that this language of "L'mechash miboy" was not found in many of the Kisvei Yad of Shas. So it seemed to have been added in by those who were concerned over the years. And if these words are missing, so then if the words "Umihu l'mechash miboy" are not part of our Ksav Yad, so then it removes a lot of the concern. And then it just means that, yeah, if you're super scared about it, it's going to be bad. If you're not super scared about it, it's not going to be bad. Okay. He says that there are a few things, a few foods that we know are problematic because they are halacha l'mosh misina. Shtei beitzim, eggs, shtei egozim, nuts, shtei kishum, cucumbers, v'davar acher. A food, we don't know what davar acher. What does davar acher mean? We've seen a lot of references in Shas to what davar acher means. Some of the Meforshim also point out that this isn't actually a halacha l'mosh misina. It's not listed in the list that the Rambam writes as that which is part of halacha l'mosh misina, but nevertheless, it's a concern. They weren't sure what was referenced in this statement of Rav Dimi as to what davar acher was, and therefore, and therefore they said anything that's in pairs we're going to be concerned about because we don't know what the davar acher is. It could be a billion things. We have no idea what it is. Okay, the Gemara is now going to go back a little bit. Remember, we spoke about this. That we said that 10. Tmanya is 8, Shisa is 6, Arba is 4, Ein Bem Shum Zuge. Remember, we said because each of them, we said that cup number 3 and cup number 5 and cup number 7, they can only be Latova. So therefore, there is no concern of Zugos above the number 2. There's no such thing. Lo Amran, that's only true. Mazikin. That's only true in regards to demons. But demons and sorceresses are different. Says the Gemara, Aval, almost a third of the way down, the Inyan Kshafim, when it comes to Kishuf, when it comes to black magic or sorcery, Afilu Tuva Nami Chayshinan, the numbers don't stop. Any even number could be problematic. Kiyadeu Gavra, the Garshala de Bisu, there was a man who divorced his wife. So Azil Insiba Lechenva, she married a guy who owns a store. Fine. Kol Yom Hava Azil V'Shasichamra, husband number 1. Every day he'd make his way to the bar. He'd make his way and have a couple of drinks. Have a ka'avda lake shafim, and she tried. She was angry at him for divorcing him, so she tried to do kishuf on him. V'lo kamahanya labe. She couldn't have any impact on him mishum dahava mizdaher benafshe bezuga, because he was very, very careful about zugos. He would not eat. He would not drink anything in even numbers. So she tried and tried and tried, but he protected himself by staying in odd numbers. Yom Echad, one day, Ishtatuva, he drank too much. He did not know how much he drank. Ad Shisar, until the 16th cup. This guy can hold his wine. Ad Shisar, until the 16th cup, Havatzoyil, he was clear-headed. The Izdahir Benafshe, and he was still careful about the numbers. Mikan Ve'elach, says the Gemara, after the 16th cup, he lost track. That's, again, very impressive. Lo Havatzoyil, he wasn't clear anymore. Velo Izdahir Benafshe. And he wasn't careful about the numbers, and apikte, the zuga, and he ended up leaving the building on an even number of cups, 20 cups, whatever it was, 22 cups, 24, 26, whatever it was. So then, Kihava Azil, when he was traveling, Gaspe Ahutaya, there was a traveler, a merchant or an Arab. There's a lot of different ways to translate the word Taya. ArtScroll translates it as an Arab. Amarle Gavra Katilahu de Azil Hacha. Have you ever heard of the phrase dead man walking? So that's almost a word-for-word translation. Gavra Ketila, a man of death who the Azil is walking. He's walking over here. So the guy all of a sudden wasn't feeling well. Azil, and then Chabke Ledikla, he went over and he was like falling over. He hugged a tree to support him. Savach Dikla, the tree dried up. Upakahu, and he exploded. So all of this because he wasn't careful when it comes to kishuv. By kishuv, we don't stop at 2. Yeah, that's only true by shadim that we stop at 2. 4, 6, 8, 10, and everything higher, no problem at all when it comes to zugos, when it comes to shadim. Masha'in kain, when it comes to the world of kishuv, there we have no upper limit. He was past 16 cups, 18th, 20th cup, but because he wasn't careful and because she knew how to do kishuv, so therefore he died. He died. More limitations, things that make this a little bit less scary. Amar Rav Avira, this doesn't apply to ka'aros, to cooked dishes, or vikikaros, to loaves of bread. Ein behem mishum zugos. There we don't have any concerns. Klala demilsa, another general rule, kol shegamra b'dei adam, ein behem mishum zugos. Anything that's made by man is not anything to worry about in regards to demons. Gamra b'dei shamayim, if it was made by heaven, b'mili mini demeichal, it's food that was made by, it's vegetables and fruits, things that grow naturally. Chashinon, there we are concerned. Chanus ain't by mishum zugos, but if you buy even these things that are bidei shamayim, if you buy them in a store, so we're not so concerned. Nimlach, if you change your mind about eating one food, but you only meant to eat one, and then you change your mind and you want a second one, ain't by mishum zugos, that's not a problem. An oreach is halachically similar to the nimlach because he never knows, the guest never knows what the balabais is going to bring out, and because he never knows, his whole brain is like nimlach. So oreach ain't bo mishum zugos, isha ain't bo mishum zugos. A woman as well is not shaykh to the world of zugos. However, isha chashuva, but if she is an isha chashuva, she's more susceptible to the demons, to the shadim, and therefore chayshina. We are going to stop right here at Amar Rav Chinana, and Emir Hashem will pick up tomorrow night with Daf Kuf Yud Aleph, and then of course nothing on Friday and nothing in person on Shabbos. Saturday night 8:40 p.m. on Zoom only. Wishing you all a beautiful night.